Is going to be a review about taking a CSV file that you've created either from a Google Docs form and you've downloaded a CSV file, or perhaps you have a bunch of data in an Excel spreadsheet and you can save that as a CSV file. So when you get your data off of Google Docs or you've put it into an Excel file, it's better to save it as a CSV, comma separated values, as that is what is recognized by Filemaker Pro. And basically a CSV file is just a spreadsheet, but it doesn't keep all of the same formatting. It doesn't have the full formatting features that happen in an actual Excel or numbers document, and it just allows you to have all of your data separated by commas. That's what CSV means, actually, comma separated values sheet. A good idea, if you're going to bring it into the database, is to look at your headings and make sure that you fix your headings and they're not big long questions. You may want to shorten any headings. You should also just make sure that you clean up your data first and see if there's any strange things. So for example, when we had an age category in there of 10 to 19, when it was opened in Excel, it thought it was a date. Excel thought it was a date. So we can clean that up by simply putting an apostrophe in front of the 10, and then it thinks that it's actually a text, and then you can copy and paste that through. So any sort of changes that you need, if you notice there are blank, totally blank fields, for example, you can get rid of those before you bring them in, just to clean up your data. So remember to save it as a CSV file before you bring it into the database. And CSV files are typically used actually around the web and with different applications, because an Excel file is exactly sort of formatted for Excel and may not be necessarily compatible with other applications. So when you're switching data between applications, it's usually better to save things as this CSV file. And if you see the pop-up comes on and it says a CSV may contain features that will not work or will be removed with Excel, and you just hit continue, and that's fine, because again, CSV doesn't save all the special features of Excel that are specific to that application. I just can save that, continue. The next thing, you have two options when you are creating a new database in Filemaker Pro. That's one I have already completed, so I'll start a new one. You can go into Filemaker Pro and create all of your fields and make sure that your fields are the same fields that you have in your CSV file, and then use the feature to match up your the import feature to match up your fields to the headings on the spreadsheet. Another way, if you haven't made your database already, is just to go into Convert Existing File. Now it's important here that you are looking at comma separated files, because it doesn't recognize Excel files. Another important thing is to look, what does your first row contain? And does it contain data or does it contain field names? Usually your first row should be your field names, and that helps to set up the database. Otherwise you'll just get a random set of your headings, like the columns of the spreadsheet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc. And then it will prompt you to actually have a place to save your database itself. So favorite foods, and just name it something sensible, so favorite foods database. in this example. And if you notice, then it brought all the data in, and it also brought in the field names. And from there, I can view it in the basic layouts. Switch to layout 1, which will be the more of the layout where you would add like a form view. Layout 2 by default is going to be just a whole huge list view. And from here, if you bring it in this way, you still need to go into your field picker and ensure that you are giving things the correct type. So for example, you might have a date field or a number field, and you need to think about what types of fields those would be. In my example, for example, on the favorite junk food, I might want to make that after I create the field, I'll have it as a general text field to start, but it might be better if it becomes one that is, for example, a drop down, and then I have to create a value list. So I need to make sure that the things in that value list are identical to the choices that were in my spreadsheet. Favorite junk food, and then I would add those values that are the same, such as ice cream, hamburgers, chips, etc. I'll click OK and OK, and when I exit my layout, then that becomes the drop-down list. Right now, because I've already prepared this in advance, I am going to open up my other version, which has more detail in that. And in this one, as you can see, I've already put in the food ratings, and I've made those a checkbox set. Favorite fruit and favorite junk food are drop-down lists. Age category is a drop-down list. Permission is another checkbox set. So I've done that in the inspector. And for example, on this field, on the Burger King food ratings, I've made that a radio button set. And I put values from scale, and I used custom values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And once I create the value list, I can use it over and over again. So I've used, if it's applicable, but I've made a favorite food value list, a junk food, a yes/no value list, age category value list. Oops, and I accidentally picked the wrong value list for that and changed it. So it's better than having everything as text boxes. Once you have your fields, you've gone into your field picker, make sure they're the right kind of field, and then you can change your control style in the data. Another thing that you would be thinking about in your layout, you should be thinking about those good alignment options. So selecting text boxes, selecting your field names, and making sure that you're looking at properly aligning them. So for example, in the position here, I want to make sure that both of those are aligned to their left edges. I've already done that, but for example, if one got moved out slightly, and you can see that that just makes it look awkward out of a line, and remember, for usability, we want to think about alignment. So make sure that you align them to their left edges, and then I'm just going to align them more precisely with the questions in mind. Another thing that you would want to think about is having similar, if you're going to have some control boxes, make sure that they're a similar width and not forming a really jaggedy edge. So for example, these should be about the same width. Or you could perhaps have the yes, no, and the age category the same width, but you don't want all of them having slightly different widths and in slightly different positions. Because again, for usability, that is a bit off-putting, besides the fact that it just doesn't look neat or professional, and people aren't going to use your forms if they look out of line. So again, I would align those on their edges, and then I would also make them the same size, so I would resize to the largest width in this case. So make sure that you're thinking about how you can use alignment. The other thing that you might want to think about is if people are working through your form and filling it in, what does the tab order look like? So that's an important thing that you want to do, that when people are tabbing through, is it in order that they would expect and not jumping all over the place. So here, for example, I do have 1, 2, 3. That's not correct. I would expect to be going down and then filling out the other side. So I might clear those and then put them in myself. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And now they're in the order that people would expect. So that's an important usability feature as well. So I'll save that layout. The other thing that you might want to think about for usability and also for making your database more useful is the whole point of having a database is to actually find things in the database. This one example only has 5 records. However, most databases have hundreds and hundreds of records, and you want to find specific data sets. So you should use your find feature. So for example here, if I want to find people who are in an age category of 10 to 19, I can do that, and I can perform my find, and I see that 3 people in my database are ages 10 to 19. If I'm often going to be looking through my database and trying to find all the people who are 10 to 19, then it's probably better to save that as a saved find and also to make a button for that. So I'm just going to show all my records, go into my find, and I'll have the age category 10 to 19, save current find, and once I've saved that current find, then I can use that for a button. So perform find, and then I'll edit my layout, and now I can insert a button, and that will come from the section, I think I may have scrolled too quickly here, found set. So I want to perform a find, and I'll specify that's the one I want the button to perform. I can use that just to give the user the hint that it's a button, so it turns into, the cursor changes into a hand, and then age 10, label the button appropriately, age 10 to 19 participants, I might call that. Actually, I'll just keep it age 10 to 19 for now so that it's smaller, and then move it where you want to and use your alignment tools. Another nice thing once you've created a button is a find. It's good to have another button that will allow people to go back and show all, because if this were a real database you would hide all of the tools from them, so you'd want the show all. So insert button, and again that's going to be in our section on found sets, show all records. So show all, and again using some, and you can use your grid, your helpers to do the alignment as well. I'm going to put this on the other side. Save my layout, show all my records, and now I have all 5 back. You